Hello, these are the notes for section 1.2, which sets up specific vocabulary for points, lines, and planes. You're going to want to pay particular attention to how you write the shorthand, how many ways can you name something, and how do you draw it. So that's the focus, is the application of the vocabulary. All right, so the first term we have is a point. A point has location, but no size. You can't measure it. So we say that a point has no dimension. It does look like a dot, and you label it with the word point, and then it's always capitalized. So when you see it on a drawing, it will be a dot with a capital A. That's a point. All it does is give you a location where things are at. Word number 2, line. A line is a set of infinite points that extend in the same direction. A line is what we call a one-dimensional shape. It has length but no thickness. It's a little like a piece of thread where you can say how long it is, but you really can't say how thick it is. A line has infinite length. You can't actually measure a line. It goes on forever. So when we draw a line, if it is a line, it gets arrowheads that indicate it keeps going. When you name a line, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it with 2 points or with an italicized name. We're going to put the points S and T on this line, and we could label this line with the word line and then capital S, capital T. You can also do it with an S, T, and a line drawn above it. You can reverse the points and do TS, and it's the same thing. And the last way you can label it is with italics. Typically, it will be italicized L, in which case you'll label it line L. And we just use cursive for italicized because italicized is really difficult to try to write. Okay, number 3, a plane. A plane is a set of infinite points that extend without edges. A point is a 3-dimensional shape. It has length and width. Oh, sorry, 2, not 3. 2-dimensional shape. It has length and width, but no depth. It looks kind of like a piece of paper. It's got length and width, but you really can't measure the thickness. A plane has infinite area. It cannot be measured. So obviously we can't draw infinity, but what we do draw is a representation of how the plane is situated in space. So we're going to draw ourselves a plane. You start by drawing the lower left edge with the ruler. I'm going to make mine about 2 inches. And then you go up and to the right about halfway and draw an identical parallel 2-inch line. If you have them parallel and they're both 2 inches, when you connect the sides, they should be parallel left and right. So this plane keeps going in both directions. We just draw it like this. Okay, so one way to name a plane is with a capital letter. We're going to call it capital N. We could say this is plane capital N. That's one way to label it. Another way to label a plane is with any 3 points that are in the plane or sitting on the piece of paper. So we're going to label A, B, and C, which means we can now name this plane A, B, C. Now you can also mix up the letters. It could be B, C, A. So there's actually several ways you can name a plane because you can switch the order of the points. So that is a plane. Okay, number 4, coplanar. Coplanar means that the points are in the same plane. And you might hear something like points A, B, and C are coplanar. They're all sitting in the same plane together. They are flat on the piece of paper. They're not floating above it or below it. They are coplanar. Collinear means that the points are on the same line. In this case, if A and B are collinear because I can draw a line through points A and B. They are collinear because they are on the line. And the line is in the plane, so it's coplanar with point C. All right, flip the page. All right, word number 6 is segment. And we say that a segment is a measurable part of a line. It has 2 endpoints, and it can be measured. It has length. So we're going to draw ourselves a segment. A segment does not get arrowheads because it does not go on forever. It ends or terminates. Let's call the left endpoint X and the right endpoint Y. We can name this as segment XY. We can also name it segment YX. And the shorthand, which most people use rather than writing out the word segment, is you write the endpoints with a segment up above, a bar up above. So you could have segment XY or YX with the bar up above. If you're talking about the length of, go ahead and put that mark up there, of segment XY is 2 centimeters. The way you write that using geometric notation is you say XY with no bar. So that automatically means the measure of XY, if you don't put the bar, equals 2 centimeters. And again, no bar means the measure of. Really important distinction. All right, word number 7, intersection. An intersection is a shared point or points. There's different ways to say intersection. We can say a line intersects another line or plane. We can say a line meets another line or plane. And sometimes you'll see it cuts through another line or plane. All of those wordings mean intersection, means they share points. Okay, number 8, defined terms. And you'll notice number 9 is undefined terms. Defined terms are words that have a formal definition. For example, a defined term is a circle because we can define it. It's the set of all points equidistant from a center point. And we did equidistant on our last section of notes. So defined has a formal definition. Undefined, there is no formal definition. These are terms that are intuitively understood. Point, line, and plane are considered undefined terms because we don't really have a definition. What we have is a description of traits. We list what they look like, what you can measure or not measure, but there actually isn't a formal definition. So those are undefined geometric terms. It doesn't mean we can't use them. It just puts them in a category by themselves. Okay, word number 10, space. A space is the set of all points being described. So whatever points they're talking about, all together you say that's the space. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do on the notes today is we are going to do some drawing. Drawing because we're going to use a ruler, so it's not a sketch. Sketch means no ruler, you freehand it. Drawing means you use a ruler. Drawing is different than construct. That would be compass and protractor. So we're going to draw 2 planes intersecting, which is kind of a fun drawing. You're going to want to use a pencil for this. I'm going to use whiteout because I have to use pen or you can't see it. So when you draw a plane, two planes intersecting, we typically draw a horizontal plane first and then a vertical plane second. So we're going to start by drawing just a regular plane drawing. So I'm going to draw about 1.5 inches of a line, maybe further, maybe we'll go out to 2. Then you're going to go up and to the right, about halfway, and draw another 2-inch segment. We're going to connect the ends. Now, typically when you draw intersecting planes, they want it intersecting with a vertical plane. So what you do is mark the midpoint on either side. That tells you where the vertical plane needs to go. So the vertical plane is going to be face on. So it's going to look like a rectangle. So you're going to draw 2 vertical lines of the same length through those 2 dots that you made, and then you're going to join them at the bottom and join them at the top. When you draw intersecting planes, you do have to show what's in front and what's in back. Otherwise, it's hard to see if they're crossing this way or that way. So you need to add in some details. So if with the rectangle is punching through the plane, it means that these back sides are behind the rectangle. So when something is behind, we dash it. So take your pencil and erase off marks to make that dash. That shows that it's behind the front one. This little piece here is under. You wouldn't be able to see it, so it also gets dashed. When 2 planes intersect, they always intersect in a line. So we typically draw their intersection. And again, I'm using longer dashes for that because it's like a crease mark, whereas I'm using definitely small dashes for that. Okay, so we've drawn 2 planes intersecting. And B, we're going to draw a line intersecting a plane at one point. Now this is something we already practiced. So we're going to call this point P, and we're going to punch a line from the front through it. So line up your ruler. So the line is solid until it hits the plane. Then it's dashed or dotted behind the plane, and then it's solid where it sticks out again. That's how you know it's punching from front to back. All right, now we're going to draw a line lying in a plane, which is the easiest one to do because basically it just sits in whatever plane is on top of the stack. So since this plane here is on top of the stack, my line AB just gets drawn. If I drew it on the other one, it would be dashed behind there because you wouldn't be able to see it with the flat one covering it up. Okay, a line floating above a plane. This is a little harder to draw. Again, we did do a little bit of practice. So we're going to have a line that's floating directly above this point. So we dash up to where it hits the line and make a dot. Draw your perpendicular mark. And then draw your plane, or sorry, draw your line. So it's like anchoring it to the plane it's floating above. So if I call this plane N, it's definitely floating above plane N because we've tied it to a perpendicular point. All right, and the last thing we're going to do is draw a triangular prism. So a prism has a shape on the front and the back, but the sides are all rectangles. It's pretty easy to draw. So kind of towards the left, I want you to draw a triangle. It can be any shape. And I always think the easiest way to do a prism is to draw the front face, then draw the sidelines, and then draw the back face. So pick an angle about 45 degrees. I typically measure, so I'm going to do 4 centimeters. So I'm going to draw an edge up to 4 centimeters. Then I'm going to draw another 4 centimeter edge from the top angle parallel to the first one. So see how those are parallel? That is the side of the prism. Now, to draw this geometrically, you have to draw all parts of the prism, including the pieces you don't see. So I'm going to draw the third invisible side, the one that's tucked under the bottom of it. Again, make sure it's parallel. See how I'm lining up my ruler with this line right here to make sure what I'm drawing is parallel. And I'm going to draw, put that a little bit under. I'm going to draw 4 centimeters. And if you've done it correctly, when you connect to the other base, it should look just like the front base. Now, just like we did with the planes, the edges of the prism that are behind the front, the ones you don't see, get dashed. So this edge is definitely behind, as is this one, as is that one. Now you can really see that this is like the front plane of your shape, and then it goes that way. All right, that is the end of your notes. You're going to want to have these terms out while you're working on homework. They're going to ask you for characteristics. They're going to ask you to label things. Have a good afternoon.